All right, we'll try to punt without it here. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Good evening. We are having a few technical problems, as we've said many times before. We are trying to get the webcam to operate, so I'm not sure what you will see. I think you'll all be all right. I do have the presentations on my computer, so those of you that are online should be able to see it. The people in the audience may be at a little bit of a disadvantage. Do you know how to fix it? You guys familiar with PC Zoom? Is anybody familiar with PC Zoom?
Yeah.
He's trying to get the Zoom active and then the webcam is not picking up.
Go ahead and start, Larry, and
Okay, go play. All right. My technical assistants are messing with the webcam, but we'll move on. Let's first things first, let's take care of the minutes from the previous meeting. We have a very small audience tonight, so this should be really easy. Hopefully everybody has read the minutes. I know I have read the minutes. I have written the minutes. Is there anybody has any comments or corrections to the minutes?
No comments, no corrections.
Hearing none. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Thank you, Shane. Can I get a second? Second, thank you, Dottie. All right. Anybody opposed? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes unanimously? Dottie, thank you. And a second, Shane.
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes are accepted unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, now, little break in the program tonight. I know it's November and I expected that we wouldn't have a lot of people here tonight. But we do have a good showing. The police apparently have a lot going on in North Raleigh tonight. Right before the meeting, I got a note that they will not be here tonight. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I do have their report and I will share the screen and then I will read it to you. Maybe that's the best thing to do for now. So here we go. Get rid of a lot of stuff. All right. This is the police report that apparently nobody can see. But here's the report from Officer Winkle. Midtown CAC is located within 3 police districts, but much of the CAC is in the North District. I'm assigned to the North District, but I will address any concerns you may have, even if you are not in my assigned district. Well, you can't address any concerns to Officer Winkle because he's not here. The 6 districts are Northwest, North, Northeast, Southeast, Downtown, and Southwest. Each district is divided into 2 zones, designated by a 10 or 20 zone. I don't know what that means. Calls for service can be 911 or self-initiated. Keep in mind, not all calls for service will require a police report. Some calls do require police regardless of the outcome. Example being all domestic calls will require a report. All right, here's the part you're probably all waiting for. Over the last month, police have responded to 1,482 calls for service. That's 28% of calls for service in the North District. Now, I will tell you that historically, that's a lot. We typically don't have near that amount of calls. Top 5 calls for traffic stops, 234. And that's up 73 traffic stops. Security check, 75. That's up 5. Crashes, 74, up 4. So the number of crashes in the area is about the same as it's been. Alarms, and I've done that myself in the past, up 20. So more people are getting alarms or more people are triggering alarms. I'm not sure what that means. And then there are welfare checks, and there were 56 welfare checks, and I would expect that to go up over the holidays. So there have been 130 incident reports within Midtown. That's a decrease of about 28%. Top 5 reports are assault, 17, down 7. Larceny, 16, up 1, pretty neutral. Vandalism, 11, down 4. Larceny from motor vehicles, contrary to what you read, that's down 7. So we are trending in the right direction. Any questions for the people who are not here? Because they will get a copy of the video. So if you do have a concern, now's the time. No concerns, and Shane normally would have a concern, but he's tied up. I've got him tied up. All right, takes care of that. And normally next in the program, we would have our budget folk here as our special guest, but are we close to getting set up?
Yes.
Okay, we just wait a moment or two.
No,
Yes, no, maybe.
don't wait a moment. Keep going. We'll catch up.
Can you guys do it without your presentation? Would you like to sit here? Because I have your presentation right in front of me.
So Larry, what we can do is we can also do just an open Q&A and just get everybody's thoughts, kind of like the second half of what we did the last time. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, maybe by then they'll have everything up and going and we can,
Hey, look at that.
oh, we're close. That's my desktop.
Bueller.
You get,
Bueller.
yeah, you need to, you just get into the Zoom meeting and you'll be, oh, I'm gonna stop sharing. That's why. Okay, that's me. Okay, you're good.
Oh.
You're good. All right. So now I can put your presentation up.
Okay.
I'm gonna share screen. Put you guys up here. And there you go. And I have a little doohickey for you if you need it. Boy, are we organized tonight.
That's volunteer.
You're so well organized.
That's all right, Larry. Don't worry.
No. It's on me. That should drive your presentation.
And then I shall go stand.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean,
Oh, okay, great.
there's a microphone there if you want to be, is the microphone on?
Yes, I think we can hear.
But I think, yeah, I don't think you have that problem tonight. I don't think you
No.
really need it.
I'm pretty loud off itself. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Sadia Sattar. I am the budget director for the City of Raleigh, and joining me today is also my assistant director, Nick Sadler. I want to say thank you again to Larry for hosting us this evening. So we have, Larry's been, no, I'm going to get out of the way.
No, I just want to make sure we look.
Yes. So Larry has very kindly asked for me and my team to come and see you all for a bit now. The last time Larry asked, I had actually wrapped up our engagement process. So I did commit and I said, Larry, when I do this the next time, when I start all over again, I'd be happy to come. And, I met him in person and I said, how can I say no? When I had said I would come. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about the budget process. Some of you are familiar faces. You've probably already seen this before, but this is what we have shared with our residents, our community members, as we have carried out engagement as part of this year's budget process. So we talk about what our goals are for this upcoming budget process, and just take you all really quickly through what a city budget is. And then what we try to spend a little bit of time on is an open discussion, and we'll try to get the folks that are online engaged as well. If somebody could please monitor questions and comments that come through the chat, we'd be happy to take them. But what we want to spend the majority of our time on is that bottom discussion piece, which is really to hear from all of you from what you would like to see as part of the budget process. Speaking of the budget process, we are actually, we started our engagement process a lot earlier this fiscal year. We started it in October because we normally kick off our budget process in December. So we wanted to make sure that we heard from folks around the community, our residents here in Raleigh, so that when we did kick off our budget process, we would be able to inform our city colleagues, our department directors of what we've heard around the community, so that as they build budgets for their departments, they would be informed about all of your thoughts and ideas and priorities moving forward. So, where do I go?
I think
It's click the top.
Just click the top.
Yeah, I think it's plugged the dongle into there's probably a piece inside there. If you open the back of that.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah.
this. There you go.
Okay, we'll get it right. Yeah, we are really moving along tonight.
Can you press allow, Larry, please?
Allow?
Allow right there. It's a blue button.
Oh,
Yes, please.
yes.
Yes, and I think we should be good to go. Woo! I don't need to go through ground rules because we are a very small group today. But just, talking about why we're here, to hear as many voices as possible from our community and to build a budget that reflects your preferences and priorities. And this is kind of what I wanted to spend the majority of our time on. And because all of you are so engaged, you probably don't need me to say this, but you all know what a budget is, which is an expression of our priorities, a reflection of our values. It's a spending plan. It's also a forecast. In the city of Raleigh, we build a budget every year, and then we have a 5-year capital program as well. There are also different kinds of budgets that I wanted to talk to all of you about today, which is your operating budget, your capital budgets, your enterprise budgets. Who is not familiar? And I know Shane, you're very familiar.
I'm not familiar.
Okay, Dottie, right?
Yeah.
So Dottie, there's many types of budgets, but the 3 budgets that I wanted to talk about today are your operating budgets, your capital budgets, and your enterprise budgets. So let's talk about your operating budget. So your operating budget is what pays for folks like myself, Nick, our police officers, our fire department personnel. So really to keep the lights on and the wheels turning every day, day-to-day operations, right? Then we have what are called capital budgets. Your capital budgets are what pay for these big infrastructure needs. So I always say, think about capital as something you can touch, see, and feel. So for example, the building that we're sitting on right now. So these are items that take a really long time to build, and they also have large budgets. So we'd like to define it in the city of Raleigh as anything that's over $25,000 and has a useful life of over 5 years. So that's your capital budget. And then you have what are called enterprise budgets, and those are, run like a business. So I'll give you an example. Are you a homeowner in the city of Raleigh? Do you pay for water? Raleigh Water is an enterprise fund, so they pay. Your bill is paying for their operations. So they're run like a business. So similarly, your stormwater fee, your yard waste fees, your recycling fees. So solid waste services, stormwater, Raleigh Water, those are all enterprise funds. So we just like to touch on these big key items of our budget. There's plenty of other types, but these big ticket items are what we like to talk about. And speaking of budgets, our budget in the city of North Carolina, in the city of Raleigh has to be a balanced budget, which means that the amount of money that you bring in has to be equal to the amount of money that you spend. So where does the money that we bring in, or where does the money come from? That comes from property taxes. So over half comes from property taxes. So if you think about this in the form of $1, about over 50 cents comes from property taxes. About 20-ish cents comes from sales taxes. Now this year, we are all, as we kick off our budget process on December 1st, we're kind of on pins and needles a little bit because Wake County is doing a revaluation. And they do one every 4 years. So we're sort of thinking, what is that reval going to look like? What are investments going to look like? Are they going to go up? So in the city of Charlotte last year, when they did the reassessment, I believe overall, commercial properties went up by like 47% and residential properties went up by 48%. So we don't know what that's gonna look like. And for all of you, because you are all so heavily engaged civically, the Wake County Assessor is going to be coming to a work session on January 16th to talk about their evaluations. The same day that they're going to their county commissioners, they're also coming to the City of Raleigh City Council to talk about the reval as well. So that is kind of our D-Day. That's what we'll know. This is what we're looking at. And then speaking of that reval, in the state of North Carolina, we have to produce what is called a revenue neutral tax rate. And I know I'm going to mess up this explanation, but it means that, even though your property values go up by poof, let's say 50%, you can't raise taxes by 50%. The tax rate has to be balanced so that it kind of brings in the same amount of money as it did last year. It's the previous tax rate. Hopefully I got that explanation right. So now that we know where the money is coming from, let's talk about where the money is going. As you can see, the biggest piece of the pie here goes to public safety. Then it goes to fund our capital, our debt expenses, and general government. General government is basically departments that keep those lights on. It's myself, it's the city manager's office, the city clerks, it's our office of internal audit, those departments. Then we see your infrastructure and public services. That's your engineering services. So when you see, for example, your roadways, your sidewalks, those kind of folks. And then you have parks as a sliver there as well. But again, the majority being that public safety. So the majority of the budget money is spent for our firefighters, our PD is spent on EC3. And again, why that piece of the pie is really large is because their vehicles are also budgeted in this bucket as well. So it's the vehicles and the people. And if we know anything about a fire truck, it costs a lot of money. It's not like a police cruiser. So that's why that bucket is so large. So now we talked about, so that was our operating budget. So here's our capital budget. And again, when you talk about capital budgets, you're talking about those big ticket items that cost a lot of money and take a really long time to build. And as you can see, Raleigh Water is the biggest piece of the pie here. Almost 40% of the capital budget is Raleigh Water. So our capital budget for this year is $490 million, and almost 40% of that is Raleigh Water. So a really huge enterprise. And then we have what are called general public improvements. That's where we budget. I mentioned sidewalks a little while ago. These are actually where we put our sidewalks, where we put our studies, our assessments. This is also where we fund big police buildings, fire stations if we're building them. And then we also have a bucket of a piece of the pie goes to transportation. So transportation, I'm sure you're all aware of bus rapid transit. So that is coming out of that pie right there. And then of course, a piece of the pie goes to parks. So our parks bond in 2022, over 70% of Raleigh residents approved a parks bond. That was about 4 pennies. So that bucket is there. And then you can see stuff for the convention center. You can see stuff for stormwater as well. And I did mention that we produce a 5-year capital program. So at the bottom of your screen, you can see that in year 1, our capital budget is $490 million, but over that 5-year span, it's $1.7 billion. That's a lot of investment in the city infrastructure. So before we move on any further, I've thrown a lot of numbers at you, a lot of city budget information. Before we move on, and I know a lot of you are familiar with this, does anybody have any questions, any comments, I don't understand this, explain it to me again? Right.
Shane, can you check the chat?
I don't see the chat. I was looking up here, you see the chat.
They don't seem
No,
to
you
be-
won't see the chat.
There don't seem to be any, I don't see anything in the chat button at the bottom either.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what we're gonna do now is, do you wanna just,
I have questions.
yes, Larry, please. I'm surprised if you wouldn't have a question. Please.
I did go to the listening session. I thought the listening session was very good. One of the things Nick mentioned, and I think a lot of people lose track of, is where all the additional funds come from sometimes, maybe not saying it right, but the things like for parks, a penny per 100, I guess it is, the assessment that winds, and there are several of those.
Yes, so I would love to talk to you about those. So Larry has a great point. So in the city of Raleigh, anytime you pay your property tax, there are 3 pennies of your property tax that are going to fund parks, buildings, park maintenance. Then they're going towards street resurfacing. And then the 3rd penny is going towards affordable housing. So every year, regardless of how our revenues are performing or not performing, that is where we are putting those 3 pennies. So affordable housing, a penny is the equivalent of $7.8 million once it's all collected. So every year, regardless of what's happening, that $7.8 million of that 1 penny is going to fund affordable housing in the city of Raleigh. Then that 1 penny for roads resurfacing, that $7.8 million goes towards road resurfacing, sidewalks, and all that fun stuff. And then that additional penny for parks then goes towards parks maintenance and all that stuff. Now, the additional 4 pennies, those are only for the parks bond. So the parks bond is, those 4 pennies are for 5 years. So the Parks Department has come up with a timeline, a list and a timeline of projects to be completed each year of the parks bond. So for the parks bond, what we've done is oftentimes when we do stuff like this, we also need to have people to do it with. So the 4 pennies of the parks bond are split. 2.6 goes to actually the stuff that needs to be done, and about 1.4 pennies goes toward the people or the operational expenses to make them happen. So that's how the city has split those 4 pennies over the course of the length of the parks bond. That's how we've divvied them up.
Can you clarify that 1 point? So of the bond money for parks, which
Yes.
everybody assumes is for projects, it's not really true because that parks bond is split up for other things. like
Operating
maintenance.
expenses, yes.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
this is the first bond that's like that, right? Or
No, I mean, so every bond that we have, you know, especially in parks, we open a new facility. We have to be able to staff it. We
Yeah.
have to be able to, have the maintenance people to maintain it. The gardeners that out to do the gardening or whatever. So typically there is a portion of a bond ask that would require something above what our debt service obligations are, right? So, I don't know what it was for the last.
It was-
last bond.
it was presented to us as being one of the first ones to have
An operating
an
component.
operating component and not being focused primarily on like the infrastructure,
Capital.
the capital.
Okay. That's Linda Stafford, if you don't know. that.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
met her.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
And she can tell you all about Eastgate Park. That's a long story.
Well, Nick used to
Yeah.
be here too.
Yeah.
Linda was like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. is that roll-
Yes,
That-
yes.
But in particular, that rolls around to the project, the capital improvement projects. We have one very dear to our heart, which is the Eastgate Park Dam.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets continually moved out further in the timeline, I guess the best way to put it. And I don't know how do we get more input into the capital project list to put emphasis, particularly for Midtown, because we have an area plan. It's very hard to track what's going on within the area plan. Then we have individual projects like the parks projects that are also on the capital improvement projects. And it seems to get lost. The timelines keep moving around, and until the budget comes out, you have to look again to see where everything is.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're not even there. They get lost. So how do we force a higher priority by area perhaps? Can we?
I mean, I am not the parks director. I obviously don't know. I mean, I think that any,
Or infrastructure, I mean, it's all the way around.
yeah,
Well, I think in terms of the dam, and I'll speak up here, I mean, y'all. The dam is not a parks project, at that point it becomes
is it a stormwater project?
stormwater project, and stormwater is really good about. They have engineers, they have water quality people. We actually, this past year, just funded some positions to more closely align with the 100-year flood plan with the, people want to call it the National Geographic Association.
Yeah.
The people who do NOAA.
NOAA,
NOAA,
National oceanic, atmospheric,
Association.
something,
So
yes.
that- So that we're getting, so typically cities only get floodplain maps updated every 20 years. We want them quicker, so we're doing that. So I'm saying all that to say that they have a prioritization system. And I do remember the dam was on the list and it's fallen down the list.
Right.
Now, science is one thing, politics is another thing, right? So I think that, you know, from what I understand of their process, it's looking at, especially around dam safety, is where are our highest needs, i.e. dams that are likely to fail, and I don't know where that comes out. But I think, you know, in terms of asking that question, I think it would probably be good to reach out to Wayne Miles or Ben Brown, and those folks in stormwater, and just have them come in and talk about their process. Because I think they have some input sessions that are available, for that, because I just don't know enough about.
And
So your answer is kind of, we have to go by department, get it prioritized by department.
I don't think that's the case, Larry.
Like Six Fork Road is another example.
Oh, that's a,
Yeah, but that's, again, it's an old project. Going way back, but it continues to, every time it comes up and they get close to actually cutting the checks. It stalls, and then they wonder why the cost go up so much. Well, you know, again, we're looking at probably a 5-year window before we actually see something
yeah.
like that. So that's what I'm getting to. There's gotta be a way to make priorities for the area better known. And I know there's a push to do municipal service districts, which in this area would be primarily infrastructure projects, but that's not gonna get us there. It's getting in line, I guess, with the capital list to move the priorities, and that's the part that's always seems to be missing.
I can't say that the East Lake Dam, rehabilitation program is scheduled for $1 million in FY 27. Or excuse me, $1 million in FY 27, which is out, right? So that we're 3 years away from that. I know that it has been pushed out 1 year from that. So it is at least in the book and on the list, and the intention of putting it on the book and on the list is to
Make sure that.
alert the world that, hey, this is something that's playing. Other than that, I don't know like what their priority system is, for that, so.
And I don't want to dominate the conversation, but my last question, again from the listening session, you had everybody list their priorities.
Yes.
And as I remember it, affordable housing was top priority.
Yes, so so that's a really good point. So that is our next discussion statement. So Larry is absolutely on point. So once in our listening sessions, what we do is we give an overview of the budget, which is what we've done, and then we actually ask people to tell us what part of the budget they want us to prioritize for them. And Larry, it's really interesting because you were in our first listening session in District A, and everybody was very gung-ho about affordable housing, but that hasn't been the case in other listening sessions or in each listening session that we've done. So what we like to do is we like to show folks this screen, and we've got, and just because these are numbered doesn't mean that they're prioritized in that way. So we've got public safety. Do you want us to invest in public safety, which is police, fire, emergency communications? Do you want the city budget to prioritize parks? So that's your parks, your rec centers, your greenways, your rec programs. Do you want us to prioritize transportation and infrastructure? So that's your Go Raleigh buses, bike ped infrastructure, transit options, street lighting, sidewalks. Do you want us to talk to prioritize housing? So when Larry came to our District A, and that was pretty, people were incredibly vocal about affordable housing. Then you have us, which never get any support, which is general government, which is people like me and Nick and our IT people and our audit people and all of us who, you know, we're boring. Then you've got your arts and cultural resources like your convention center, Walnut Creek, Amphitheater, Martin Marietta, you know, and any other arts programs of the city, our museums, nonprofits that we give grants to. And then last but not least is climate change and sustainability. We've heard a lot about that last year as well. So for your benefit, Nick has added those in the back on the whiteboard there. But I really wanted to spend the rest of the time that we have with you. We have one activity near the end, but what we really wanted to do was just use this as an opportunity for you all to just kind of talk to us and tell us, you know what, you want to see more dollars diverted to, something you're unhappy with, that you wish the city would do more of, something you wish the city would do less of. And what we've been doing is we've been capturing feedback that we've received. And once we're done here, at the beginning of the next year, the calendar year, we're going to put all these comments, these thoughts in an engagement report. And we'll publish it just like we published our report last year. So this is something that we intend to do moving on every fiscal year now as part of the budget process. So we've got the priorities on the whiteboard back there. So public safety, parks, transportation, housing, general government, arts and cultural programs, and then climate change and sustainability. And if anybody on the chat would like to say something too. So I'm gonna stop talking and I'll open the floor and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. Yes.
The one question I have on the penny for the parks, the one thing that's interesting about that is it just seems to go into the general fund. It doesn't, and I guess the way it was originally presented, you were thinking it might go to critical maintenance issues that have been neglected, but you really don't know where it goes to.
No, sorry, for the penny for parks, that does go towards those critical maintenance options.
But they're
The
not,
4 pennies for
but they're not line listed. I guess that's the thing. You don't get a feel for where they actually go.
okay, I see what you mean.
And so you don't see it go to specific neglected projects.
Okay, I get it.
And I think that's one of the things, because the initiative itself was very appealing,
Mhm.
you know, but we have here neglected projects. We have in other parks, you know, when you go around different parks, you see them, the little things,
Mhm.
the walls that should be fixed. You know, the dam, of course, is a great example, but we know that's far out. The dam, for example, here was a Band-Aid after Frank, when the dam breached. And the concrete was sort of thrown down there and we were told, okay, well, this is just to maintain. But there's the little things like walls, graffiti, things like that, that go neglected for quite a period of time. And the issue has been, well, we don't have the maintenance money for that. So those where you thought the maintenance issues might be addressed, and maybe it was directed, as opposed to actually it goes into the best I could figure from looking at the budget, it went into some capital type projects, but you really don't know where that went. And so when you take and create a program specifically to address a particular issue, you sort of want to know, so where did it go? And we really don't know on the thing part.
Okay. We'll take that feedback.
Yeah, and the Eastgate project is a prime example because I had to file an inquiry basically to see what happened to the money, because I heard, I think at a council meeting, that money had been moved out 2 years. So that raised that question is why and where did that money go? Anyways, what took its place when they moved the timeline further out? Because that means the money was there for that year and spent on something, but not where it was supposed to go. Do you want to prioritize those or?
I did, I think that, the penny for parks needs more transparency.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking
yeah, I
about.
could have done that a little more shortly.
Yeah.
No,
If-
I appreciate it.
Would like just a report back of like, here's where it went,
Yeah,
would that,
and so what were the projects? I mean, the whole idea there was, this was to go to neglected maintenance. Okay,
because I
so-
understand the need for flexibility of like our parks guys to be able to like direct that money as the needs arise, because there might be bigger issues at different parks and stuff like that, but I think the ability to kind of report that back might be
Yeah,
something.
so how did, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You know, when you do this, when you create this program, and the beauty is you say, and this is how it works.
Yeah.
Because it's now an ongoing part of the budget.
Yes.
Here's what we accomplished with it.
Right.
my question or my comment is on, the listening. The city is, I made a comment at city council during public comments, last session. Listening is great. And writing things down is great. But what is being done? I mean, we listen to the importance of affordable housing, and we listen to the importance of parks and police pay and or pay for city services, and then I don't see that listening turned into action. And so
first of all, last time we did the listening sessions, we heard from folks that yes, we want more dollars dedicated toward affordable housing. But they also said that they wanted more dollars focused towards community engagement. And we gave money to the Community Engagement Board. We gave the Office of Community Engagement 2 people. We heard that we wanted more sustainable initiatives, so we put aside $250,000 for solar infrastructure, $250,000 for green for EV infrastructure. So this year, we see again that affordable housing seems to be at the top of the list. Like, this is a huge concern for residents. So we are taking that input back to our city manager. We relay it to city council when we do our engagement report. It's part of our budget work sessions. And the thing that I try to say, I've said this in front of city council also, that there are tons of competing priorities. We have, now the thing is, what I, this is, people want more, they're gonna have to pay more. So we are going through, the city is going through a classification and compensation study. That's something that we heard as part of the process to raise the pays for our police officers, our firefighters. So that's something that we're going through to see how we compare to the market. So change takes time. But I mean, I think to you, it may seem like, we're listening and we're not doing anything, but I think we're making small increments in the right direction.
except for the CAC. We expanded the CAC.
So
And
I
we
was
create-
not here when the CACs were here.
I'm just saying, this is something. for
Yeah,
you
we
to take back to council.
This is probably the only group we can't blame for that.
But
They did a lot more with a lot less money when they were here too.
Yeah.
The thing about city budget is the vast majority of all the money they've got just goes to just routine expenses of keeping everything up and maintained and operate. When they start talking about being discretionary stuff, it's almost like peanuts.
So that's a really great point, Rob. And this is something that I want, this is something that actually we've shared with city council as well, which is that the city of Raleigh does what is called base budgeting. So essentially when you start and now you know this, when we start the next budget year, this is exactly what you're saying, Rob. We've got we know the number of people we're gonna have, we know the buildings that we have, so we know what we're gonna spend towards maintenance, we know the roads. So the budget is really already set for the fiscal year. The discretionary amount of the budget that we have to play with is really little. And that's kind of where that little balancing act happens, right? Like what budget, what can we make happen with that little piece of the dial that we have to move? So with that little budget, we try to do as much as we can.
And who really makes those decisions? I even hear the city council members, some of them say they don't know how this is being done and where it came from. In the past budget we had, some of them said they never even knew what was in it until 2 weeks before it was a done deal.
So I will disagree with that. I don't agree with that. I think
No,
that,
I'm sure what the city council-
yes, no, and I'm in those meetings too. As part of the budget process, we try to educate city council. So you will start seeing me in front of city council from February. And we do work sessions that apprise them of the upcoming budget in February, in March, and April, before we actually propose in May.
I will compliment you. We've seen you more than any of these other people in the past.
Okay, all right. But I think, Rob, what happened last year was because we have 4 new city council members, I think that the confusion was that normally they were new. I think some of our city council members are avid readers of this very, very thick 500-600 page budget book. They wanted to take their time with it. And when I proposed the budget, I think we had the public hearing, which we have to do, which I believe was June 6th last year. And then you have a series of work sessions. Now, the last city council that we had was much more seasoned, and they were kind of in a rhythm where they knew what was in the budget, and they were aware of already something that you have pointed out to, which is there's very little piece of the pie to work with. So the expectation was to pass the budget during that second meeting in June. And I think that's kind of what caught our newer city council members off guard, which they were like, wait, this happens this fast. Hopefully now that we've done this for a year, I think that expectation has been, and I think that also, I'm new to the city as well. The last year was my first budget. I'll actually celebrate my 1-year anniversary in 2 weeks with the City of Raleigh, knock on wood. But I think we, or I say myself, hopefully now that we're more comfortable with each other and we kind of know how each other works and the expectations that we have from each other, hopefully I think we'll be more comfortable, and hopefully we won't see that situation again. So I think it was just like me being new, them being new. I think another thing that happened was our council members had a lot of questions. Staff worked on those questions. Unfortunately, they didn't get to them in time because there was an emergency that happened. So there was some things that have transpired there, which knock on wood, hopefully will not happen. So I think it was like a two-way street there. So hopefully we've ameliorated that issue.
Yeah, but I'm real confident you've been more proactive than anybody we've seen in the last 20 years.
Thank you. I don't know about that, but I think our last budget director was also pretty, I mean, she knew her stuff. So
She did.
She really did. I gotta give her that. She was pretty good. Yes, sir.
On the feedback you're getting on housing, do you feel like it's well broken out between the big A and little a of affordable? So I mean, there's the big A of the idea of affordable housing for people of need. And then there's the argument about affordable housing in terms of the market side, which is much more difficult to address. I mean, in fact, it's virtually impossible for the city to address. So do you feel like the feedback is getting balanced, or do you feel like you're getting the right kind of feedback on that? And do you also feel that the budget, I mean, I actually feel like we're hearing some pretty good communications on the big A affordable for those in need. Whereas a lot of people talk about affordable housing and talk about the fact that, well, I can't buy a starter home.
Yeah.
Which is two different discussions. And I think, unfortunately, in the public's mind, they're seeing this the same argument, and they're not. So how do you think the feedback's working on that in terms of what you're hearing?
I think what we're hearing is, I can't afford to buy a home. I can't afford to buy, a starter home. So there's a little bit of making, we're not getting a lot of conversations about missing middle like we did the last time I did this. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of make more affordable housing available in the city. I don't think we're getting comments that are as nuanced as what you've presented. I think it's more just people need a place to live. Rent's expensive, housing is expensive. You need to do something. So that literally that has been like, bottom line, what those conversations have been.
It's probably my.
Yeah, we have company.
And there's also been a lot of comments about, and maybe misunderstandings about what, to your point, the city can actually do around zoning and.
Nothing.
Just around rezoning request to add affordable units to a development. Right. And again, like Sadia said, you all are very civically engaged and know that we are creatures of the legislature and can only do those things which the legislature empowers us to do. Doesn't mean we can't lobby for those powers, because there are plenty of cities who have localized legislation that allows them to do all sorts of things. But it's something that we would have to lobby for. We've heard a lot of people saying, yes, we want to see the city lobby for X, Y, and Z that we were able to record.
if District A, which I thought affordable housing was the top priority, can you tell us what the top priorities were from some of the other districts?
So I'll tell you something, in District D, nobody cared about affordable housing. District D was like, why does the city even do affordable housing? That shouldn't be up for the city.
Okay.
District E is, Glen Eden.
Yeah.
That area,
How
yeah.
about C? How about District C, which needs it a lot?
Where did we host District C? Was it at Abbott Creek? Was that this, or that was B?
C.
That's Mr. Branch's district.
Yeah,
That's Chavis, we were at Chavis.
So-
Lots of concerns about affordable housing and transportation.
Yeah.
right.
District C, District B was affordable housing as well. D was, where was,
He was at Carolina Pines.
he was at Carolina Pines, yes, so that was interesting. That was again, lots of concerns about transportation. And so it's sort of been transportation, affordable housing, transportation, affordable housing. And then E was the first one where it was like nothing to do with affordable housing.
Wow,
Yeah.
good turnout.
It's all based on the economic level of neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Turnout was, we had Jules show up, but there was more.
I had something on the printer now.
There were more city staff and residents. But I think, right.
Larry, can I chime in for a second?
Sure.
Hey, this is Christina Jones, District E Counselor. I was at that. I just want to give some context. Yes, that is very true that it wasn't the concern of affordable housing, and we'll own that, but there were also 5 people. So let's make sure we understand that there weren't a ton of people there giving comments. It's not like the entire district was there saying they don't care about affordable housing. It was 5 people. So I just want to make sure we understand that as we're talking about it. I promise you, District E, we do care about affordable housing. But in that context, as we were talking about it, we tended to focus more on public safety in that meeting.
Thank you, Christina. I've got to put a plug in here for CACs, and that's why, we average 20, 30 people in a normal circumstances, sometimes 40, 50, depending what the topic is. I know the city disowned us, but from a reach out standpoint, you have a captured audience of more than 5 people, and it would be nice, just as a recommendation, to build CACs. We haven't gone away, we still exist, we are a community function, to just work us in as part of the community engagement process, so that when you reach out to try to make contact with groups, you've seen what happens when you go to a place like Chavis Center, or you try to go to Abbott Center. People don't, it's hard to get people to go out of their way to go to a meeting, as opposed to either doing it virtually works well, or as a combination of that type of meeting. And we are a resource that we offer to the city to just act as a sounding board, same as you're doing tonight, and we really appreciate it. It's not going to have the same impact as a targeted audience, but everybody knew that you guys were on the agenda for tonight. And for November, we're actually doing pretty well as far as attendance goes. And then this will get put out to our membership, a couple hundred people in our membership. So they'll be contacted, and they'll know exactly what happened tonight. It's just a resource that the city is wasting, is bottom line. And that's going to be a high objective for us for next year. I don't want to take away from your subject, but I did.
So we still have some time, right, Larry? So if you all, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, if you have any on infrastructure, transportation, public safety. So.
If you have climate and sustainability up there, we go right back to the dam problem. Not the damn problem. But those are
With an and.
things where I think we look at, we look back to, the water type issues and things like that, where, that probably should fall into that category there. You look at Durant Park that lost a pond up there, and probably because it should have been addressed years earlier. So, this is part of that sustainability issue, is projects that have moved to the back burner that need to be further up, but they don't end up under that category. They end up under the under the capital category or the park category.
Correct.
But they're part of sustainability
Yeah.
because we do need to maintain and grow the park, our parks, our greenways and things like that. That is part of the sustainability discussion.
Thank you.
We've got new parks coming in the innovation district, over there at North Hills. It's gonna be that way. That way. Yeah, that way, yes. But it's gonna be new, are those private parks? Are they gonna be city parks?
Which parks?
Innovation in private.
The innovation, at North Hills, there's a green area, outside of that.
That's private.
You got North Hills East, the Innovation District, and then
Well, they're trying to connect that with the Greenway.
Correct,
That's public.
correct.
So that's gonna draw more money. So the dam is gonna be pushed further back because
Well, so the dam is not competing, with general fund money. The dam money comes directly from your stormwater fees that you pay per acre of impervious surface. So the stormwater, like Sadia said earlier, is an enterprise that funds itself from the revenue that it receives. And every year it transfers a portion of that revenue over to the CIP projects. So, we don't send from a general fund that $670 some odd million. None of that goes to stormwater because it's sustaining itself.
Yeah,
So in that particular case, now you could make that argument for other projects, but for stormwater and the dam replacement, it would not impact that at all because it's two different pots of money. Okay.
So the current project that they're looking at for the dam none of it actually falls under Parks and Recreation. It's all under stormwater right now.
Okay.
Parks and Recreation is looking to determine if they want to add any additional money to do anything aesthetic on top of the restoration that they're doing for the dam. So if they want to do anything while the water's already being dropped down, if they want to take advantage of the fact that that's already happening, to try and save some money and do some other aesthetic stuff around at the same time, they're looking at that, but that's completely separate from what stormwater is doing in terms of like restoring the dam. So the only money that's earmarked right now is just for the dam restoration, and that's completely out of stormwater.
Okay.
But it raises the question, it's the same thing about trackability. When there's a bond issue, for example, and there's a project for, say, Eastgate Park, and then that money doesn't get spent, it would be nice to be able to look at the budget, final budget, and say, okay, here was this project, here was this allocation that didn't get spent. Where did it go? I mean, there's no place in the new budget that you can look up, like you can look up Eastgate, the dam, and see where it is, where it's intended to be, but you don't know where those funds went. And Six Forks is the same way. Six Forks has two transportation bonds and money allocated to Six Forks that is partially spent by continuing to do surveys or whatever, but there's a bunch of money just left over, just sitting there somewhere, but it might have gone to other road projects. It'd be nice to know. It doesn't matter. The point is that there's this pot of money.
Yeah.
That probably got,
Original pile, we don't know that to it.
right, it might have gotten spent, but you don't know. Might have been reapplied to something else that had a more immediate purpose. So it comes time again to actually spend that money. It's gonna be fun to look out, see where the money is. I know that's not within your group, it's a different group, but it'd be nice to have that trackability somehow. That's my best message, I guess.
I think that's sort of what we're also trying to do with the new parks projects with eBuilder. So we've got this new software, so hopefully what the intent of the software is, and we're having a lot of internal discussions about this, is that the new parks bond of 4 pennies, just to make available in real time information for residents to track how those projects are proceeding. Are they over budget? Are they over their timeline? And if so, why? right? So
That would be great.
that is exactly, that's actually something in the works.
That would be great.
And we have that not just for the Parks Fund, but we're doing it for citywide projects. I've just been in meetings for that with the Parks Fund, but some other cities, they have some really great mechanisms where you can go and track, I think on GIS, this is my neighborhood, what projects are, where their status is. So we are getting there. We've been having a lot of internal meetings to make that happen, but I was in one specifically for the Parks Bond. And we are working on how to make that available.
That
for folks.
sounds terrific.
So who updates it? How does it update and how often?
So it's not live right
You guys
now.
could help, by the way. You ought to introduce yourselves as you ask a question.
Oh, yeah, I'm Walter.
So Walter, it is not live yet,
Okay.
but we have our Parks and Recreation folks, our IT folks, budget and finance folks, and our folks in engineering services that Parks really partners with to make their projects go live. So we are all in discussions to ensure that, is this timeline appropriate for the project? If that's what we've communicated, are we still on that timeline? Is that budget, okay? Because obviously there's a set amount of money for the Parks Bond, can't go over that. And then is that, is it going to be completed when we say it's going to be, is it going to be within budget or not? So those are the conversations that are happening right now.
Right. Yeah, we have to have this set up, but I guess, has it come around? Have you all discussed that idea? Because it's very different about updating it once a year versus updating it, every month? I mean, versus,
Yes. So we are in those conversations. We definitely don't want it to be updated a year, right? Every year, because what's the point in that? I think the frequency of that is currently being determined. So I have not been in that conversation yet.
But on the other hand, it's likely gonna be the engineers and project planners who's updating this.
Yeah.
We want our project planners to be updating the software every month, or we want them actually programming. So I think we're having to find the balance between
that's the other reason why I asked.
working out, right?
Because that is,
Yeah,
But
because that matters, because that's a whole other job.
that's right, yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it is,
could be, typically,
it is and it isn't, because it's also an opportunity for the community engagement people to be part of that process. So when, virtually all these projects are out there online, you can find them, but it's the update thing that sort of lags a bit. And, I spent 35 years in corporate communications, and one of the things is engineers are great guys, but they're not the best communicators. And so part of the thing that you do as a communications group is help them get the word out. So it may be an allocation, not so much an allocation, but are people assigned to groups from within communications to help those groups get the word out, because it's that's part of the whole process when those little project sites, because there's a ton of them and they're great, where they say, hey, here's the project, here's the budget, here's where it's at, but the where it's at thing is usually pretty general and vague. But that's where, some of the comm folks that's a great opportunity for community engagement that the comm folks could be working.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good idea.
There is a comment from Stephanie in chat. Excellent comment. I can read that for you if you'd like everybody to hear. Transportation is such a problem in this area, especially crosstown buses. I know most folks in the area don't use the bus system, but those that do complain that the buses are late, don't show up, and do not meet the needs of those that do use them. Those that use them late at night have to use Ubers, so I'm sure that others will not use it because it is so unreliable. The app doesn't help them get information to advise them what's going on. I know this is information for the Transportation Committee, but it is a complaint I hear regularly. And I'm just going to follow that up, but you asked before about infrastructure and transportation. Those two items alone are probably the number 1 and 2 areas besides affordable housing that are concerned within Midtown.
Yes.
And the city at some point just has to start spending some money. And when they talk BRT, I'll save it for later. Never mind.
Okay. Well, you can talk about BRT now.
No,
Yes, we can.
yeah, we can save it for later.
All right.
I don't want to take away from your presentation.
That's actually, Stephanie, thank you for your feedback. That's actually something that we have heard as part of our other listening sessions as well. So I really appreciate this. Larry, would you be able to take the chat and send that to
Yes.
me, please?
Glad to.
Thank you so much. So we can have that actual comment.
Yes, I usually do that. I'll send you the video and the chat.
Great, thank you.
You wanna say something about BRT?
Well, what I was gonna say was, there is an open house this week for BRT for the Northern Corridor.
Okay.
And I would like everybody to either pay attention or actually go, because you can't have the Northern Corridor if it's gonna come up Six Forks without improving Six Forks. So while they're playing around with spending money on Six Forks, they need to think the bigger picture and look to see how they could possibly run a BRT system on Six Forks when you can't even get up the roadway. Can you imagine a bus holding up people trying to get on the bus with traffic piled up behind them? It's just something to think about.
When is traffic the worst on 6 Forks? Cause I zoom through there.
The interchange with 440 is by far
Right.
the worst.
I mean, I'm driving through there, I'm genuinely very curious. I'm driving through there morning, afternoon. Lights seem to be timed really well. What time is it? Is that the time? Is that what we're
Particularly late afternoon from 4 to 6, trying to come through that interchange and get on Six Forks.
Just tonight, I went
Every
down.
single day.
Yeah, 'cause I was like you, I hit it early every time just because of that.
I was there at 5:15. I think our transportation was doing an excellent job of timing lights.
They
Yeah,
do.
it takes me a little while, but it's no Atlanta.
And the other stretch that's really bad, just because of the narrowness of the lanes,
Yeah.
is the portion that we're trying to get fixed. You saw the Honey
yeah,
Ham.
it is narrow.
You saw the Honey Ham part where the police were out there.
He does the resident there.
Yeah.
Millbrook, so.
Millbrook,
All the way
yeah.
down to 40, and then Millbrook going the other way to, Spring Forest. I went down Millbrook, Spring Forest to, near the Target to pick up dinner. And I was on the
Yeah.
way for this.
Oh, wow.
Because I got caught. I mean, I took off at
Yeah,
5:30.
it gets worse further north.
Yeah, like you have a 7 o'clock meeting at Optimus Park and you leave like at 6:30 to try to get there.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna barely make it.
Oh, man.
And then you're gonna have a bus, you're gonna have.
So yes, Nick, you've been lucky.
And so that's gonna take away car lane because it's for busing. And-
Yeah.
And
I don't think it'll even have a dedicated bus line, but that's what we're gonna find out this week.
uh,
But let's get back to the budget. Sadia, is there anything else that you need from us?
Yes, I
or
do
input?
need one more thing from you.
Uh-huh.
I would like for you, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen again, please.
Okay,
So something that we've done along with the listening sessions this year is that the city manager has set aside $1 million.
I was gonna
in
bring that up.
Capital budget funding. This $1 million in capital budget funding, and remember capital budgets for those large projects that cost over $25,000, take a long time to complete. Not all of them, some of them. And the reason why I brought this up is because we are asking you to tell us how to spend that $1 million. So what we have done is we have 5 districts in the city of Raleigh. We have created a survey. The city departments, we put our heads together based on the feedback that we received from residents as part of last year's budget. And based on what we heard, we said, what can we make happen? So it's $1 million citywide, $200,000 for each district. So if you were to use your phone and scan this QR code, you will be able to go to a survey. The survey will ask you where you reside, which district you reside in the city of Raleigh. If you don't know which district, you can add your address and it'll help you. And then you can choose from a variety of projects that are either $200,000 or up to $200,000. So this is another way to get your voice heard. If you were not in the listening session and you didn't prioritize something, this is one way to prioritize something. So not only is there an opportunity here for residents to add their own comment in the survey to see what they would like to be funded as part of the process, but what we've got in there are projects that will take 1 year to complete. We made sure that we did that. So it is, it's projects such as playground shade structures, dog parks. It is sidewalks, sidewalk resurfacing. in the city of Raleigh. It is a tool sharing program that seems to be popular with some of our residents who are a little excited about it. There's also a photo journaling project in there. There's also I think it's helmets as well for bike riders. So there is something for everyone in here. So again, this is something, what's really exciting about this is something that residents can give direct feedback into. So whatever is kind of climbs to the top of the list in each district is what will be funded in that district. Yes, sir.
That's really great. I really appreciate all the public involvement you're getting in that. But in the big picture, $200,000 in this is a very small amount of money, but it does get some attention. It's
Yes.
a positive thing. So I don't want to
Yeah.
stop
No,
that.
you're absolutely right. So I'll give you an example, sir. I came here from the city of Philadelphia, where I was deputy budget director. And the city of Philadelphia's overall budget is about $12 billion. And when we did this, we put aside $1 million. So we got a lot of backlash, actually, not feedback, backlash. It's, what are you talking about? 6th largest budget in the country, and you're giving us $1 million? But we just kind of wanted to lift up the program and see how it would do. So this is why we chose $1 million here. And I totally understand. We've got some big needs in the city of Raleigh. So what is $200,000 going to do? But it's a start. It's actually something that we'll be able to complete within the year, the fiscal year. Whatever residents vote on will be completed as part of, or will be in next year's budget. So we hope to provide residents with regular feedback as to where those projects are. And I'm happy to report that as of this morning, we have over 2,100 responses to our survey. And these are only
Get to know where to go to get to
so you can either scan this QR code, Dottie, or you can go to
that particular one. I mean, how do people out there in the neighborhood know about it?
so our communications department.
They come to the CAC.
If you got my communication, you would have that. I did post it for you. I posted it on Nextdoor. I posted it on
I
our
love
ballot.
that. Thank you, Larry. That's really sweet. So Dottie, we've been advertising. Our communications department has been doing a fantastic job for us. We've been advertising on social media, and I've actually had some people that I have met who heard about this. I was so happy, thank God. It's like, but it's been on WRAL, ABC 11, CBS 17. We've all, pardon?
News Observer.
News Observer. We've also,
Must have gone by me.
you know why it must have gone by you? Because this has been live since October 10th, and it's actually going to stay open till New Year's Eve.
Another great source in the city of information, probably one of the best ones in the city, Livable Raleigh.
Livable Raleigh.
Excellent website with all kinds of information
Okay,
about all kinds of things, a lot of it, the political stuff, but at the same token, they have got access to things like this and news stories and all kinds of stuff.
that's great. I will see if we can get in touch with them as well, but we've been in touch with iHeartMedia. I did an interview with
Axiom.
no, they're another radio station, Radio One, that's another radio that so we've been spreading the word, but for folks who, you can also go to anc.gov, which is our website, and if you scroll all the way down, just keep scrolling down, it's
Yeah,
right
that's
there, and it'll tell
You
you.
don't talk about the website.
Don't talk about the
It's
website. don't like
a super website. It's just very challenging to know how to operate. You've got to get experience with it.
Yes.
You can find stuff real quick.
So you find.
If you want to spend money, please fix the search engine for the website for the city. You put a number,
General government.
I would like to second that.
if you put a number in there, you'll get every firehouse, no matter what you're looking for.
Okay,
CACs no longer have boundaries. I technically live within the city.
so we will take this feedback back to our communications director. We have a fantastic new communications director who is incredibly open to feedback.
Well, if you give me a name, I will definitely make contact with him.
Yes, Rob.
What's that person's name?
Her name is Robin Deacle.
Okay.
Yes,
Deacle?
Deacle,
Can you spell that?
DEACLE. Yes, she's fantastic. So her team has been so amazing for us that they've really helped us get the word out. And again, what I love about this is that it's not anybody who works in the city who can fill the survey. It's just people who live in the city, who are residents of those districts that are providing direct feedback for the survey. So I implore you all to please share this with your neighbors, your friends, your family members, your coworkers, so that, you know, they can provide input into the city budget as well. And I think that wraps it up for us, Larry.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Long time getting here, but it was worthwhile.
Yeah.
It was,
And you'll be back.
definitely. I will be back. It's already gone. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll take a photo of the board, and I really appreciated your conversations. Lots of concern about making sure about the penny reporting, website search engines. Yeah, so interesting comments.
Oh, I think we did have one more question. in
Another
chat.
comment.
I thought I did.
Oh,
David, do you have a question before we leave here?
Mary Glad wants to see the board.
Oh, I'm gonna take a picture of it and I'll put it out.
Yeah, I'll
David,
just
go ahead.
point out on the community engagement part, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
You remember Glen Laurel. The issue, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that District E didn't care about affordable housing. That group in Glen Laurel, when they were trying to put in assisted living and then townhomes across the street on Edwards Mill, that's the only time they showed up. And that poor developer, Phil Layton, who was representing the developer, spent 18 months just trying to get something as simple as townhomes put in. I don't know how many years off his life he lost, but the CACs, if we ever want to be honest and bring them back, we need to understand that for many people, they were correctly viewed in their minds as anti-housing coalitions. It was definitely a way for neighbors to get together and make sure something wasn't built near them. I mean, you can see it now with Hayes Barton. You have people with money who don't even want other people with money living near them. So I'm glad they were gone or disbanded or the association was ended. It was the right thing to do if you care about housing. And until the CACs and the leadership that was the CACs can acknowledge those facts, that the only time people would come out is when they opposed housing, then there's not going to be good reason to bring them back for many people.
point well taken. Okay. I think you guys are done. You're welcome to stay, but you don't need to stay.
I have a 8-year-old waiting at home for me, so I'm gonna go, but it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep coming to Mr. Rogers. Yeah. Would you be my neighbor? Larry, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's a
Sadia.
pleasure.
Very well
Thank
done.
you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you. See, I've seen you before.
Nick, don't be a stranger.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I leave?
Can you leave?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Larry, I'm gonna put a message, say you're gonna, take a picture of that.
Yes. We could turn the webcam. You could turn that to that.
It's not.
No, not that.
This.
That's not camera.
That's not him.
That's not camera.
No.
That's not doing anything.
It's not.
There's no camera on that.
There's no.
The camera is on your computer. You need to take your computer towards it.
All right, thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Well, Larry, I need to get on her list somehow.
Adi, if you give me, no, you're not done. We're not done.
Yeah, just walk over there.
Your computer over.
Oh,
There's
Okay.
Wi-Fi.
okay,
You don't need a Wi-Fi.
okay. Pardon me for a second.
Let's send it to you, Larry.
We're not. All right, you gotta back out a bit.
Yes, I do. But then they can't read the fine print. Can you guys all see this? But don't worry about it, because I'm going to take a picture and we will send the picture out to every one of you. I know my head's in the way. You can't, it's. Oh, thanks for the help, guys.
Priorities.
Boy, we are really ad hoc tonight. All right. So we have concluded the budgetary session. I hope to have the budget people back again. It was very worthwhile, in my opinion. And do hope to see them again before we get to the next budget. Let's see, next on the docket, I should really check my agenda, shouldn't I? But I know what's next. Yes, we have two city councilors with us tonight. And let's see, still, right? Christina and Mary are with us tonight. So this is where we usually give them an opportunity to update us and join in the conversation. So why don't we do that? Christina and Mary, why don't you unmute yourselves?
Hi, I'll start first.
Okay.
No material updates for me other than an upcoming another town hall next month on December 14th from 7 to 8:30 at Green Road Community Center. It's going to be more of a roundtable type discussion where it's like we'll have different breakout sessions, some about affordable housing, some about transportation, some about just general space for people to offer ideas or thoughts that they have about certain things. And I think it'll be really fun, like just being able to have like more of a open conversation with people who show up. So that's December 14th at the Green Road Community Center. I really enjoyed listening to Sadia just now and hearing some of the things that I have felt to be true throughout this last year. I can't believe it's been a year since we've been in office, but specifically around things like affordable housing, what I'm hearing is that there is like the need is greater than what is able to actually be created through like the processes that we have in place through market-based solutions. And then I heard somebody talking about like the little affordable housing versus big affordable housing. And I'm guessing that's like affordable housing that's like 60 to 70, some 80%, and then affordable housing that's like deep affordable housing for like lower and lower income. So I'm really excited about some of the things that we have on go for next year around that and looking for diverse ways that we can bring that up to District A. Because we haven't really had a whole lot of cases here that are tied to rezonings and nothing that has had like any affordable housing goals or targets. But there are people up here who need that. We're also going to have a presentation about safety because I've been hearing a lot of different things, specifically about like the youths. And as the youngest council member, I'm like, what is missing in the youth community that we've had, you know, an uptick in young people just out and about, like not having anything to do but get into trouble. And I can just remember like being in that space 10 years ago and being very fortunate to have places that could help me and places that like took all the energy that I had as a teenager and could mold it and push it in the right direction. So I've been working with the city, have some upcoming meetings with the city manager and the police chief around what is happening and understanding the concepts of what we can do more of and seeing where our partnerships are with the county. So there's a lot of really interesting things that are on go. I will say that like as much as you guys are talking up to the city about affordable housing, please go talk to the county. I've been like trying to push people to the county as much as possible. Don't tell them that you heard this from me, but one of the things that our county commissioners like to joke about is how nobody comes to talk to them about anything. They always come and yell at us. And a lot of the things that they come and yell at us about are things that are actually under the purview of the county. So things like mental health, things like affordable housing, those are all like county. And the city is a partner and we actually do a lot of things around it. But clearly there is a big need. I also we've been working on a lot of different little things. So I guess I do have some updates, like different sorts of things that are really getting to the root of what we're hearing around community engagement. So one of the things for me is really understanding and working to see where people's minds and thoughts and feelings are around CACs. And there's just a lot of, from some of the counselors and some of the people that work at the city, just a lot of concern and a lot of it seems like trauma in some ways, but I don't really understand why they aren't really interested or aren't concerned about working with CACs or working for a model to bring CACs back. I disagree with what the person said earlier. I think, you know, there was an informal model that held up housing. So like, why don't we formalize some models that can allow people to have knowledge about what is going on? Because what we've seen since, you know, we've gotten rid of the CACs and we have this new rezoning process where it's like they set up their own community meetings, is that we've had a downtick in people who are actually coming to the meetings that are being held by developers. And I think it's important that people who live in the area are knowledgeable. And if they aren't supportive, like I, as a city council member, would like to know why that is, and at least have some sort of documentation or something written that gets to the heart of the people who are living there in these communities day to day and what they think and feel, and allow that to help us guide our decisions. I don't think we have sound governance without having the voice of the community. So I've been really working within council, within the community, to kind of flesh out the ideas that I have around a new CAC model. And that's something that I'm hoping to bring back next year. So that's it for me. Open to questions. And also, again, town hall meeting, community roundtable discussion, December 14th.
Which community center and what time, Mary?
Green Road Community Center, and it's from 7 to 8:30.
Okay. And a date again?
December 14th. It's also on my social medias if you would like to see it there. You can see it on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and that's Mary Black for District A. Yeah.
Okay. I posted it once on Nextdoor just recently too.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Larry.
Mary, I don't see anything in chat. There is one big thing that I would like to ask you, and that's, you saw what happened with the Six Forks Road project where they did a survey. It was a very poorly done survey. And the question was asked to go behind the scenes and look at the data and compile the data. I'm just glad that council did that. But we need a strong sponsor to move that project forward. I didn't get that from the council meeting, and then they're going to come back at some point and present again to you. But I think it's important to know that this project has had an awful lot of community engagement. We don't need to do community engagement again. The survey, although even the answers were close, it was still overwhelming that people support at least half the project. They want the city to take the money they have, spend the money from Rowan to Millbrook. It's badly needed. And the interchange working is the bigger part of that. Millbrook in particular, the Millbrook crossroads intersections and above Millbrook and below Millbrook definitely need to be reworked. So I'd like to either talk to you about that or have you at least ask the right questions and push it to move and get started. So.
Well, I'm sorry you feel like you didn't have a strong advocate there. I think for me, coming into this project after over a decade is understanding what exactly is wrong. And from my understandings of the survey, talking to people, and analyzing the data that we have, is like people don't really know what they want to do. And that is where the confusion is on what needs to happen. And so that's why we wanted to aggregate the data a little bit more to understand what needs to happen. But I am of the mind that something needs to happen here. I think, you know, they brought back and they were like the top thing that people said, even though it was more of like a ranked choice. And the second choice was most people picked just start over. And that ended up being like the top pick for it with the however they did the ranking. I don't feel that way.
It was the lowest.
I don't think that's so. I don't think so. I think that was one of the top options that they did with how they ranked everything. Because it was like you had the choice of picking two, and it was like people picked one option or just starting the project over. So then when they brought the data back to us, because of how the rankings all came together, it was like that ended up being the choice that was picked the most. And that's why we asked them to split the data up a little bit more. I don't agree that nothing needs to happen here. Something definitely needs to happen here. And I talked about how I'm a person who drives up Six Forks multiple times a day, so I would agree. And I did say that I think that there needs to be a improvements to the road widening from Rowan all the way to Millbrook, but also I talked about how there needs to be deeper work done around pedestrians and intersections that are very dangerous walking down Six Forks towards North Hills, towards the highway. So I think, for me, I would love to hear if anybody in the room has thoughts about what they would like to see as I'm working with other counselors. I know other people are looking to me to see what people are saying, but I am only one of 5 votes. So it's like, I'm trying to understand what we need to do here based off of all of the options that are out there. And then it's like a matter of getting 5 people on board to also go in that direction. But that's where I've been these last couple of months with it, like understanding what has happened and then what people would like to see. And I'm still not certain about it all the way. You can say one thing and then 3 people will tell me something else. And then 2 people will tell me a different thing completely. So it's been especially difficult because of that.
Okay.
Larry,
We'll revisit that. Lubin?
what their problem with that survey, most people wanted the project that you mentioned from Rowan to Millbrook. But they were talking about on there, they instructed people to rank order. Most people just checked that one thing, and they found out later that the survey would automatically just add everything in there behind it in the same order that was on that page. And that's why everybody was astounded versus the percentages on everything on there were the same. It's because one people checked the one at the top, it used the rest of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a comment about the survey, and the survey was definitely flawed. But Mary, for your information, if you look at the number of people that participated, it was a very high number, as I remember, it was over 500 people, I think. And the rankings in particular, which were never explained how they work, but it goes from 1 being the best to 5 being the lowest. Number 1 with the highest, well, the lowest, backwards, that's the problem. With the lowest ranking being closer to 1 was definitely to go from Rowan to Millbrook. And then the others fell behind it, and canceling the project, if you look at the rankings, it definitely came out the other way around. But the problem is nobody understands the rankings, and nobody from staff explained them to you, and they should have done a better job. And I'll just let it go at that. Okay. Anything else, Mary?
No, are there other thoughts and feelings about the Six Forks? Because I would really.
Oh, yeah, we'll take a fast poll in the room here if you'd like. All those in favor of doing Six Forks, raise your hand.
Not doing Six Forks. Like, give me some like thoughts and feelings about what you would like to see happen based off of the 5 options that were given to us. Or
all right, what's the top option in the
different
room? We'll do that, right? Do it. All the way from Rowan to Millbrook. Do it. Unanimous.
Okay.
The project, when it was initially concepted, had overwhelming public support. So the point is that with a lot of meetings, a lot of feedback, something was expected to happen. So canceling needs to be off the table. What needs to be looked at, because what we got with this survey, which has ranking issues, is 5 lousy choices. So the point is, you need to take a look at it, and this is what the planners need to come back with. Where is the area of greatest need? And that needs to be addressed. Right. So it's not a matter of looking back on a project 12 years later and what the public feedback is now. There was plenty of public feedback. There was plenty of support for this project. So something needs to happen. And that's what planning needs to come back with, is the best option to make an improvement.
Right. I agree completely. Hear that, Mary?
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that not doing anything was never on the table for me. Like, that was just, it was like, what are we going to do? Never let's just start over. Unless it was overwhelming, like, we hate this, but I don't think we got that. And I don't feel that way at all. Like, I think the city, no offense to the city, I'm a part of the city now, has a habit of putting things into bonds and budgets for District A and then putting it on the back burner and then coming back to it years later and saying we're changing it, or the scope of it needs to be different, or what have you. And I don't like that trend. We've seen it with the Mine Creek Trail, and now we're seeing it with Six Forks. So that was never an option for me. It was really just like understanding where we are now, because they're like, we're over $70 million over budget with what we were going to do. And it's like, oh, well, what can we do then? So I appreciate that. I can be sure to have some more deep conversations with the other council members as well as the transportation staff.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry, Stephanie here. I really think that no matter what you do from Rowan to Millbrook, if you don't fix from Rowan to 440, it's not going to really make a difference. We're going to be bottlenecked anyways. I do believe that putting a bike lane on Six Forks Road, anybody in their right mind would never ride a bike on Six Forks Road. I just do not believe that will happen. But anyways, that's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, crossing it's a bigger problem.
Yes.
By the way, there will be a project coming up for rezoning very shortly. That's going to be proposed for 20-story buildings right below the belt line. And if this conversation about transportation and the interchange wasn't in the forefront before, it will be in the forefront very shortly. So yes, I agree with you completely. All right. Mary, should I switch over to Christina?
Yeah, unless anybody has anything else they would like to say or ask me.
Anybody else? Anything online? No, I think we're good.
You tell Mary we appreciate her listening and we appreciate her speaking up at city council what she's been doing.
You hear that? Lubin said, we really appreciate you speaking up.
Yes.
Oh, thanks so much, Lubin.
Listen.
I'm learning and growing along the way. I've definitely learned a lot this year, and it's going to be even better when we get back next year too. So I really appreciate that. Happy to serve.
Thank you.
All right. Hey guys, Christina, District E. So I'm right on the other side, and I'm going to amplify what Larry just stated. You know, the Six Forks Road project, it stops no matter what we do right where my district starts. So where my district starts on the other side of 440 is now where we're also going to see a lot of development. That's the Midtown plan has that. We have that possible 20 stories coming. You have the computer drive that just came through at 8 stories. So, yeah, those concerns come through and we talk about Six Forks and I'm like, what about the other end? What about the other side of it? Because that's going to add more traffic as well. So thanks for uplifting that, Larry. My community meeting is the day before, Mary. So it'll be on December 13th, but we'll be up in Briar Creek. So every month I go up and down Glenwood just to make sure that we get to all areas of the district. And this month we will be in Briar Creek. We'll be at Stage Door Dance from 7 to 9 p.m. And the way my community meetings are set up is really just question and answer. So we come in and I say, hey, what do you want to talk about? And we spend about 2 hours just talking back and forth. We do dedicate about a half an hour for the first half. We did affordable housing developers so that residents can see what is being done so that we can remind everyone that we are doing things. But to Councilor Black's point, what we can do is a drop in the bucket as it comes to affordable housing as to what the county can do. So we want to take the wins that we have, which we work with amazing affordable housing developers who do a lot of great work. And I got to highlight them. And now we're switching to staff. So at the last community meeting, I had firefighters there just to explain what they're going through and what pinches they're seeing and making sure that residents understand the lead time that they need to meet that they're not meeting because of lack of pay, lack of equipment and everything like that. So we will be bringing different staff members in they have about a half an hour where they're going to talk about what they love working for the city and the challenges that they're facing so that we understand in this next budget cycle that when we want to amplify our city workers, it's because they do the work that I'm not going to change fix potholes. I'm not going to change lights out there. So we need to make sure that we're prioritizing the people who do the work and bring the services to residents that are truly needed. So join us. That's December 13th from 7 to 9 at Stage Door Dance. I think Mary hit on a lot of stuff, so I don't know that I have any further updates for you unless anyone has a specific question. But happy holidays. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Yep. Hope you did too.
We did.
Any questions from the audience? I think I burned them all out.
Yeah, you had a lot of information, so I don't know if I could really amplify anything else, but I'd be more than happy to. If you ever have a question, don't ever hesitate to email me. I'm at christina.jones@raleighnc.gov. I'm more than happy to answer anything.
My only suggestion, since I know you sit on the transportation committee, is to get the Six Forks Road project back into the transportation committee. It's a shame that they did not meet in November, even though they had things to discuss. And I guess the next one is going to be in January, which.
Well, I mean, that's something that I'd like to speak on for a second, because I think that committees need to meet every month. And as of our last meeting in both transit, and I'm also on Safe Vibrant, we were supposed to have a meeting this month and they both got canceled. And that has nothing to, that was not a vote that we got to say yes, because I would have never said yes to that. But Corey and Mary Ann are our chairs and they canceled both those meetings. So it's something that I'm trying to advocate for as we talk about the TOD. I think that that's a really, really big discussion point, and I think it should go to every single committee because it's a big topic that's going to affect all of our strategic plans. But I think what we got is one meeting in January. So I need y'all to come out to public comments. Let us know how you feel, because this is going to be a possible major shift. And when we talk about affordable housing, what I'm learning in this TOD discussion is that by changing these, we're actually, according to Missing Middle, and an element of it is the FTDO, which is the Frequent Transit Development Ordinance. I always forget those letters mean. That affordable housing came in at 3 stories, but the TOD, it doesn't come in until 5 stories. So
Correct.
By changing those and putting that overlay on it, we're actually making it more difficult for people to attain affordability. And I'm trying to delve deep with my planning commissioners who have spent a lot of time working on this and having those conversations. So please, especially those that are really interested in affordable housing, this is a big one that I need all your voices on deck, like from the get-go. So any meeting that you hear, whether or not we're talking about the TOD, I need your voices there, because I'm really concerned that this is going to get swept under the rug and we're just going to make affordability even harder to get. So please, please, please come out and speak.
There are many of us out in the audience with voices that are totally against what they're doing with New Bern Avenue. It's a shame.
Yeah, and I'm really concerned that it won't get the discussion that it needs. It can't even go for public hearing until March 4th or 5th, whichever date we meet. And so my question is, well, then we have plenty of time for it to go to all committees, and that was not voted for. So we get one meeting.
The Planning Commission of the whole is going to have their discussion this week, and that should be a very interesting discussion. So.
Yes. So please. And if you'd like to serve on a border commission, please reach out and please send your applications in. I think we were able to fill the historic cemeteries this time, but all of our commissions were running up on not having applications in the queue. And then that leads to not being able to meet quorum in some of our instances. And we really need the advice of our boards and commissions. So please, if you are called to serve, please look at our boards and commissions so that we can get you a space so that your voice can be amplified.
Okay. Becky?
Yes, a couple of things. One is, just as the city did with Dix Park, they have waited until developers got their little fingers into private citizen property by offering lovely prices to people who have no idea what their lot is really worth. And so I think we're looking at, I understand that having a bus rapid transit requires a certain density of housing in order to have enough ridership to make it worthwhile. But we've also allowed investors to go in and buy these properties. And now it's like closing the barn door after everything is out of the barn, and we just are going to have an empty barn. So I get real frustrated with that. And then I'm sorry that the city council people think that it's the county that should be doing the affordable housing. In point of fact, the county has built or enabled the building of much more affordable housing than the city of Raleigh, when the city of Raleigh is the largest population center in the county. The city is way behind. And I invite you all to go to the League of Women Voters Wake County website. Lorena McDowell and the housing person for the city of Raleigh are doing a online what do they call, I can't think what they call these little meetings, but anyway, it'll be an hour, hour and a half meeting online about affordable housing and why we have such a shortage and what we can do about it, because the league is trying to take a position that would have some feet to it, that would maybe get especially the city of Raleigh on the ball as far as affordable housing. So that meeting is in February, and it is, but you can register for it now. You do not have to be a league member. And let me just find it. It is at noon on Wednesday, February 7th, and it is a Zoom. So if you're doing something else, you can sort of be multitasking. So it's definitely something that should be attended.
Well, first of all, thank you for so in TOD, and yes, I do agree that developers, I don't understand. It's a 744 property rezoning, just a blanket rezoning. Developers, if they want to go above 3 stories, which is what the FTDO has, they always have the availability and the possibility to do a rezoning. So this is really just giving them carte blanche so they can skip over the price or how much it costs to do a rezoning. So I agree with you on that. I do want to push back on the affordable housing being the purview. It is not the city's purview. And I'm not saying that to dismiss responsibility by any means. So please don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is that what we are talking to the county about is that they have specific buckets that they have more money for. So I'm not saying that the city shouldn't do anything. I'm telling you, like, I'm introducing everybody in my meetings to developers where we are partnering and we are doing things. But our purview is infrastructure. It's infrastructure and public safety. And the county has, like Councilor Black said, which is affordable housing, mental health, all of those, they have the bigger buckets. Not that we can't contribute, but that they're going to be able to do a lot more than we can by ourselves, because of the fact that on top of that, we have to handle infrastructure like firehouses and police stations and all of these things. So in no way am I trying to say that the city shouldn't do anything. So please don't take that as the message that I'm sending, but that we
but the
city
does have a history of not working well with the county. This is possibly before you were on council, but they do have a history, because I've been following affordable housing for several years now.
Well, I'm not talking about whether or not we get along with them. That is something that, again, that was before me. But what I'm saying is their purse strings are much bigger than ours.
Their purse strings are in fact bigger, but they have been reluctant to turn any control over. I know this will shock you that anybody on city council now would be a control freak, but there are people on city council who are scared to death to let the county have any control over anything in the city of Raleigh. So that is an issue. Marianne Baldwin would be one of those people. I have not ever figured out what Corey Branch thinks he's up to. But it's just an issue. And I know that there are new people on council, but you're also getting railroaded sometimes by, canceling meetings. I think that there needs to be some real publicity about that. Because I'm on a lot of the email lists for different meetings, and I'll get a reminder about the meeting, and then the day before or 2 days before the meeting, I'll get a notice that the meeting's been canceled. There's a lot of canceled meetings.
Yeah, oh no, I 100% agree with you on that, and would welcome any extra voices in making sure that gets shouted out, because I've tried and it's still happening over here. So please ask the questions.
Okay, well, Liverpool Raleigh would be one place that you could take that concern, because they have a pretty substantial email list, and I think people read their emails more than some of the other emails get read. So you might reach out to
Larry, who sits on Livable Raleigh. So Larry, if you could help amplify that with Livable Raleigh, I would appreciate it.
Be my pleasure.
Thank you. All right.
So,
thank you.
That we need to be complaining as citizens that we have these citizen commissions, and then willy-nilly meetings are canceled.
Agreed.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I think we're good. Christina, thanks for your time and your effort and your support.
Have a great night.
Thank you. All right. In terms of other things, I think we touched on them all. The Six Forks saga is probably the #1 issue. And we try to get all these people in a room, talk to them all at once. The transportation group, they are, I'm not sure what they're doing. We have a great correspondence trail with the engineer for the road, but unfortunately he's not allowed to talk to us, and everything gets lost when it comes up in front of council. So we have a real problem there. It's that communication breakdown between the people that do the work, the people that know what's needed, and the people that talk to council. So until that roadblock is busted, see what happens. Where's one thing that everybody should be aware of? You've heard a lot of talk about municipal service districts. I think it was at least a year ago, yeah, before the new council was elected, we got into municipal service districts for Midtown, and there was a proposal on the table. There were maps drawn up, and then it kind of fell apart because of the pandemic, I think, among other things. It's back and semi-alive. There was a feasibility study ongoing that was being monitored by the Midtown Raleigh Alliance, but with Tara Robbins stepping down, I'm not sure who's going to pick up that baton and move forward with it, but it is still alive. And over the next couple of months, you'll hear a lot more about it. I'm personally not in favor of it, but I'm looking to be convinced as to what it can do for Midtown. You've probably seen all the information about the Blue Ridge Corridor. I don't see where the corridor is going to benefit from municipal agreement, but that's just me. It's not like they're going to build infrastructure. They're just going to be levying taxes on top of people that are already heavily taxed through the entertainment district, if you will. So just watch it. It's going to be a hot subject coming up in the next couple of months. With that, let's talk about our December meeting. Our December meeting, as we talked about before, I was just going to do, because it is holiday time, I thought we would just have a get together in December, but I need a lot of help with that. I'd like to, we'll get some food donated perhaps, maybe we have a potluck and just have everybody meet, have the councilors come and just get together. We will not be virtual that night, and just have a good time to round out the end of the month. Do I hear anybody that's not in favor of doing that or has a better idea for that? Wait, don't everybody speak at once. Okay, to be explored.
How would you like to?
So what date would that be?
Yeah, look at that.
It's we moved it back from Christmas. It's the third Monday of the month in December. I think it's the 18th. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's December 18th. It'd be at 7 o'clock on a Monday night, and be a more or less a potluck unless we can get it better organized. So if you do have thoughts on it, and if you would like to bring food, just let me know, and I will go ahead and put out an announcement to that effect to the membership, and we'll just go with the responses. I think we can do something really nice, invite some city people for a change so we can talk to them. Besides that, talk among ourselves of what's important, and then also talk about moving CACs forward, because that's going to happen as well. One way or another, that is definitely going to happen. It's one of my top objectives for next year, with or without council. So
Cool.
hopefully with.
Yes.
Okay, with that, anything else? Anything I've overlooked? Okay, wishing everybody a great week, great month, and I'll see you in December. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.